learning something new about yourselves and different ways to cope in these unprecedented times. We will get through this together. So many of you know by now that I have fallen in love with a new musical titled Grace. Grace captures a day in the life of the Mintons, a Philadelphia-based family that has owned and operated a restaurant in South Philly for over a century. It celebrates food, family, and faith, themes that we all need to make it through these times. That's why we're doing these chat series. And I'm so delighted to have the creator and composer of this new musical as my co-host. Please welcome my friend, my neighbor, and my walking buddy, Nolan Williams Jr.
Hey, Carla.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It's like you ran into the screen.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Look, listen, we want to say again, thank you to you for serving as our culinary ambassador and for hosting these chats on your social media platforms. We so appreciate you.
Well, it is my honor. I've loved our conversations with Sheila Johnson, April Rain, Michael Twitty last week, Clayton Prince, John Edelman, and Angie Goff. And clearly, they're all resonating with thousands of people. So I think that we are satisfying a need that, or an itch that we didn't even realize. So thank you.
Yeah, listen, I think the series now, along with the song When Grammy Cook, has now reached more than 250,000 globally. Can you believe that? It's crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So we want to thank all of you for your support. Thank you for tuning in, for watching the video, for liking and sharing and commenting and helping us spread the word. Honestly, when we started this a few weeks ago, we started on Resurrection Sunday, and we had no idea that this was going to take off like this.
Well, I mean, it's clear that you recognize how much food connects us. It's really true. I mean, food memories, and it's a way that we can all share and understand just what's in our soul. It just connects us to each other, to our past, to our identities, and the larger world around us.
Yeah, and that's the real spirit of my new musical, Grace. And I'm so excited about how these conversations are helping us to build a global community around this work. So listen, if you have not done so, go to our website, gracethemusical.com, to register to receive updates on the show. Listen, I promise you, we will not bombard you with weekly emails,
Exactly. Nobody wants that, but seriously, when you get something, it is going to be something that is worth reading and knowing about. So
yeah, I mean, if you register, you'll be amongst the first to know about the latest developments with the show. You'll know when we're finally able to mount it, which we hope will be sometime in 2021. And you'll also get special invitations to signature events that we're having. And speaking of which, really thrilled to announce that later this month, we are having an exclusive private stream happy hour with the brilliant cast of Grace. That will be later this month. And for those of you who go to gracethemusical.com to register as a friend of Grace this week, you will get that invitation.
Well, I am really looking forward to that. And I will definitely be there. And I hope all of you will join us as well. So go to the website. I mean, that song was like the thing that grabbed me. I had chills. I mean, I'm getting chills now.
Wow.
Hot liquor chills.
Wow. Well, we hope that people will become a friend of Grace and come to this exclusive event. You'll get a chance to meet the cast and hear a little bit more about the project. So I think that will be exciting.
All right. So let's get this thing going today.
Indeed.
So our first guest is Michelle Miller. She's a national correspondent for CBS News and currently serves as a co-host of CBS This Morning Saturday. She's married to former mayor of New Orleans and current CEO for the National Urban League, Mark Morial, and she has two beautiful children. Please welcome the incredible Michelle Miller, and I want to say H-U.
You know. Guess what?
Listen, H-U in the house today. Hey, Michelle, we're so excited to have you.
Well, you know where I am right now. I'm on assignment. And we talked about this last week. And when you invited me, I said yes, of course, right away. And then I realized I was going to be in Philadelphia working. So how about serendipity playing a hand with us?
Listen, we love Philadelphia. And all of those who are watching from Philly, just say, hi, Michelle. Just kind of type that into the stream on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, well, Michelle, you win for the best background.
You do.
Thank you. Thank you. I worked hard at it.
You know, and I love your CBS This Morning Saturday segment, The Dish. You take time to celebrate chefs, particularly women chefs and chefs of color.
I do. This is something I am so dedicated to, making sure that all voices in the culinary industry are heard. And The Dish is so unique because it's, you know, there are a lot of great cooking shows out there like The Chew that show people how all of the dishes come together. What we do is we sit at a table and we really talk about how the chef came to be and what drove him or her into the profession. And it really gives you an idea of where, you know, that passion, the inspiration comes from. And one of the first dishes that I did was really a dish about this amazing woman from the Fort Worth, Texas area. Did you want me to delve right into this right this moment? Or are we going to ask me about it?
You sure can. But before you do that, let's bring it up to speed, just so, you know, audience members may not know a little bit about Grace because it connects directly with this story, Michelle.
Yes.
So for those of you who are watching, Grace is set in South Philadelphia, which is where, listen, we could not have planned this any better. So this is amazing. It's set in, let me say it the way it would be said, South Philly, right? It's the story of a family-owned restaurant known as Minton's Place, and this is not the Minton's Place in New York. There's no connection. But these are the Mintons, and we talked about this a little bit last week in our conversation with Michael Twitty. These are the Mintons that are part of the early pioneers that helped to define and establish the culinary industry in and around Philadelphia, as we find through the research of W.E.B. Du Bois in his book, The Philadelphia Negro. So these Mintons have owned this restaurant for more than a century. And so Grace then celebrates generations of entrepreneurs, especially strong, smart matriarchs known as the Grammies of the Mintons family, who have established this restaurant and maintained it down through the years. So with that, please share this story.
Well, you know, so one of the first dishes we did sort of on the road was I went to Houston, Texas, to a place called Lucille's. And Lucille's is named for a woman by the name of Lucille Bishop Smith. She was into everything, a real Renaissance woman. She had her own general store. She started a culinary a curriculum at Prairie View College. She ran a camp. One of the things she was also, and she loved the ambulance behind me, was she was a chemist in the kitchen. And she developed a hot roll and biscuit mix. It took cooking time from 3 hours to 30 minutes, and it sold around Texas. And when she wanted to build beyond and sort of mass produce, after she had found out that this thing had real appeal, a couple of big companies came after her that still are in existence today and said, we want that recipe. She said, no. I want to do this myself. So she went to a number of banks in the Fort Worth, Dallas area and tried to get capital for it. She wasn't able to access the capital, even though she established a location, even though she had picked out, you know, everything that needed to be in order. They wouldn't give her the access to capital that she needed to mass produce it. And her biscuits were served on American Airlines first class cabins. You know, the two presidents enjoyed them, FDR and Lyndon Johnson. I mean, she was well known throughout this country for her hot rolls and her biscuits. So, you know, the need was there, the demand was there. People of all colors and stripes were buying her products, but she could not get that same access to capital that we are still talking about today.
Wow. So we won't say the name of the company that's still in existence that probably ended up commandeering her recipe in some kind of way.
But the Chicago Defender puts her as being the first person to quickly reduced the time from 3 hours to 30 minutes. Somebody do the math for me, but that's how, like, she took it down. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So let's say that name again, Lucille Bishop Smith. She's another grand pioneer.
She is a great grandniece. She's the great grandchild. The great grandmother of the chef of Lucille's in Houston. She's also the great grandmother to the founder of Step Africa, Brian Williams.
Yeah, Brian.
And she's also the great grand mother of the founder or co-founder of Highway Vodka, which is a hemp-based vodka in Texas. So she's got some entrepreneurials in the family.
Wow.
Yeah, she may have been stopped, but she passed on that gene. Seriously.
Yeah. She did.
Yeah. Her tentacles are long and wide.
Yeah, that legacy. And that's such an important theme in the musical, this idea of legacy, the idea of recipes being passed down from generations. I'm curious, Michelle, like, what's your relationship in terms of your mom, your grandmother? Like, did you learn to cook at their apron strings or anything like that?
I think I was one of those children you couldn't keep me still for a minute. So I was eating the food, and the memory of my grandmother's peach cobbler. We had a peach tree in the backyard, along with 2 avocado trees, a persimmon tree, a lemon lime tree. But she made the best peach cobbler, and she made this goulash. I don't know how to make it, but it had tomatoes, corn, and okra. So I love the slimy stuff. Love it.
You and Chef Carla.
Big Mama made a real sister out of me.
Well, I got to tell you, I did not like okra for the longest time. It wasn't until I did my latest cookbook, Carla Hall Soul Food, and there are 4 okra recipes in there. And I sear them, I roast them, I will bake them, I will fry them, but I won't put them in something where they get slimy.
Well, honey, I learned how to pan sear them from my aunt Carol Dargan in South Carolina, and Beatrice Bessie Burson from Dallas, Texas taught me the slimy stuff. So I got them from both ends.
So listen, we want to just do a shout out to Footprints Communications, HU representing positively as always. And for Tina Arredondo, we are talking about Lucille Bishop Smith, and WP Holiday Helper. Vodka and biscuits. That's quite a combo. And Laura Layton, legacy, the importance of legacy. Yeah, thank you all for your comments. We'll try to add the comments to the conversation as we go along here. So this is probably a good place to bring in another guest to this conversation. I had the honor of working with him last year on one of many programs that I've been able to music produce at the Kennedy Center through the years. And I'm just going to go ahead and brag on my friend a little bit. He's arguably one of the greatest baritone voices of all times. He is the multi-Tony award-winning star of stage. I mean, we're talking Jelly's Last Jam, Kiss of the Spider Woman, Ragtime, Kiss Me Kate, King Hedley II, Man of La Mancha, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, and Shuffle Along. And that's not even exhaustive. He's the star of the small screen as well. Going back now, this is really going to go back. Remember The White Shadow?
Yes.
Roots, The Next Generations.
Yes.
Trapper John M.D., Hotel, The Love Boat, 227, Alf, Night Court, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, Generations, the daytime soap opera that brought Black folk into the story.
I remember.
Animaniacs, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I still remember him as Trevor going, Hillary, will you marry? When he tried to bungee jump. Okay. Frasier, Ugly Betty, Madam Secretary, Glee, The Blacklist, The Good Fight, Fam, Prodigal Son, and on the silver screen, Ghost Dad, The Prince of Egypt, One Last Thing, Jump in the Broom, and Maplethorpe. My God, we're talking about Broadway legend, entertainment industry icon, right here with us today from New York City, Manhattan, Brian Stokes Mitchell.
Hey y'all, how are you? No, man, I better like deliver now because that was quite an introduction. So thank you.
Listen, you can pay me afterwards, man. Just cash at me.
Okay. Hey man, it's great to be with you again, with everybody on here. Carla, Michelle, it's just what an honor. I love you all too, and it's just so great to be here. And Nolan, you were just you're one of my favorite musicians. You're just so incredibly talented, wow, and to have that opportunity in DC to get to work with you and hear what you do, and yeah, I was just blown away by you. So it's great to be on with you, and I'm so happy for Grace and your new musical and all of that as well. It's like, and that's hard to do. People don't appreciate how hard it is to write a show, to conceive a show, to put on a show. You did the lyrics too, right?
Yeah.
To do the music and lyrics is really hard to find somebody who does music and lyrics as well at the same time, and I mean, you have so many talents and you do them really, really well too. So it's an honor to know you and to be here with you today. Thank you.
Well, I'm loving this love fest. I mean, Nolan, that introduction was amazing. And then Stokes boomeranged it back to you. And Michelle is just having some Philadelphia wind problems over there, but I love it.
Hold it down, Michelle.
I'm holding it.
This is so exciting. My cheeks hurt from smiling so much.
And listen, Stokes, as hard as it is to write a musical, let me tell you what's really hard. Trying to keep a musical going in the midst of a pandemic.
I don't know how you're doing it. I can't imagine.
It's taking a real team. Our folk, Del Mott and the whole crew, they have been working behind the scenes. Carla's folk, Kirsten, and the whole, Sheila Johnson. There are a lot of folk that are working behind the scenes to really help us do this. And we thank you all so much for your support. So Stokes, listen, I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago when I saw the video of you singing The Impossible Dream. I mean, that is your calling card song.
Seems to be, yeah.
From the New York, from your New York apartment window. And I was so thrilled to see you singing the game because, of course, we had gotten the news about you being sick. And I didn't want to bother you when you were sick. But when I saw you were better, I certainly have been praying for you and thinking about you. When I saw you were better, I just sent you a text just saying, hey, man, I'm so glad that you're doing better. And then you wrote me back immediately like, hey, I've been 100% for about 10 days now. I was like, oh, well, thank God. And you asked how my family was doing. And then as we were catching up on text, I shared the video of when Grammy cooked with you. And like your response just blew me away. So first, share with folk, because this is really relative to what's going on, about your recovery and, just what you went through.
Yeah, it was, it's a butt kicker, this thing. Here's what I think is the most difficult about this whole pandemic, and I think this is for everybody. There's more questions than there are answers. Yeah. For everybody. We don't know a lot about a lot of things yet. We have a lot of questions about it. And especially when I was on the front end of getting it, I didn't know that I was getting it. And I did, I had all those questions that I'm sure everybody else has, am I going to get it? What's it going to feel like? How am I going to know I have it? How bad is it going to be? What are the symptoms going to be like? Am I going to end up in the hospital? Am I going to end up on a ventilator? Is it going to end up killing me? What other people in my family and my friends are going to be affected by it? You have all these questions and everything. Now, being on the other side of it, I have a lot of answers to that. Still mostly questions, I have to say, because a lot of things aren't unanswered, are still unanswered. But and what's crazy about this is that everybody has different kinds of symptoms. I had one friend that had, and a lot of people from the theater have been getting it because, we're so close, we're spitting on each other, we're hugging each other and kissing in on each other and everything. And so it's been kind of going through a lot of companies like wildfire. And I was doing a show with my wife, Allison, at City Center Encores at the time, which didn't get on, got canceled, because they closed down Broadway, called Love Life. And we found out later that one of the people in the company had it, but her only symptom was she lost her sense of taste and smell. Carla, that would be like probably the worst symptom you could think of.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Of all the symptoms, if you had one to pick that you didn't want to have, I'm sure that was. I was thinking about that. I was thinking, what if the chef gets this? This would be the worst thing ever. But I lost my sense of taste and smell, but I got everything else too. I got the whole thing. You know, I got the body aches. I got the, it felt like I got hit by a truck. I had muscle cramps. I had a fever that went up to 104.8, which is like, I thought, aren't I supposed to be dead now? But I had this great doctor with the Actors Fund named Jason Kent, who I was able to call, and he was just so open, you know, all the time for everybody. And I said, what should I do? He said, can you breathe? I said, yes. He said, are your lips turning blue? I said, no. I said, should I go to the hospital? He said, no, stay away from the hospital at all costs. They don't know what to do with you yet. They can't treat you anyway. That's not a place that you want to be. Just stay at home. So my wife and son took great care of me at home and got me through it. And then it moved into my lungs a little bit as well. Not terribly, but I could feel it starting to go down there. And I had a few things that I was taking, you know, for it. And and what I was doing is especially as I started recovering, I was vocalizing. That was one of the things that I did to kind of exercise my lungs, you know, and just kind of check out, see how everything, because, you know, singers are delicate flowers.
So like what? Like, would you do scales, or give us an example? I
would just do scales, you know, because it depends, because it depends on what I'm feeling like. Am I feeling dry? Am I feeling phlegmy? Am I feeling, you know, tired? Am I feeling this? You know, but I would just, and usually I just kind of improvise on them too. So I'll do all kinds of different scales, and then I'll, you know, keep going up the scale and everything. But I for a long time I was coughing doing it, and then I got to the point where I stopped coughing. But that was after everybody was going to their windows in New York City and clapping for everybody at 7 o'clock every night, which is great. What happens here, you know, people are just making all kinds of noise, and I was doing that every night. And then one night, you know, I thought I can actually breathe and I can actually sing. So I started singing "The Impossible Dream" because the lyrics of that song are so apropos to the healthcare workers and the essential workers. And it came out, and then it became a thing that I just started doing every night.
Wow.
Amazing.
It's so powerful. So Carla, you vocalize like that too, right?
No, I don't.
Listen to your voice. Listen to you. Got vibrato. You got passion. You got everything a singer needs. So
enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Lots of enthusiasm.
But she's chicken. She'll only sing in the shower.
Right. I want to sing. I would love to do. I mean, I grew up doing musical theater from 12 to 17. So I love the theater, and I love actors, and so when they do Broadway Sings for Pride, I'm like always interjecting myself like in something. But yeah.
I'm tone deaf. I have no excuse.
Are you?
Oh, really? But do you have another talent? My brother is tone deaf too, but he's like an incredible artist. He's a costume designer, and I can't do that at all. So do you have skills that went other places?
She's a national journalist. I mean,
well, yeah, exactly. I
can tell a good yarn. I can tell a good yarn, I think.
But what I meant by that is usually people that don't sing, they have, you know, it goes into one of their other senses. Like my brother, it goes into, you know, you have some kind of visual acuity or something like that. So that's why I was wondering if you had some other gift. You know, I know about your journalism, but you know, that's what it went to your speaking ability.
We are digressing.
We are, aren't we? Isn't it fun? Isn't it good?
It's a live chat. Anything can happen in a live chat.
Yeah.
No, but so when we're talking about the song, you were singing "The Impossible Dream," and you know, and I'm sure when people were listening to you, Stokes, they were just moved, and that's how I felt. And just bringing it back to Grace when I heard "When Grammy Cooked" for the first time, it literally drew me into this project. And it's just amazing how much this song is resonating and how song propels all of these memories and everything. And I am still bummed that we weren't able to premiere Grace for the prestigious Humana Festival of New American Plays at the Actors Studio. I was really looking forward to going to Louisville. But I believe that when people have a chance to finally see this play, the experience and the impact will be huge and amazing and so incredible.
Well, can we all come?
Listen, with bells on, please. And listen, Carla, what you just said is the reason why you're our culinary ambassador. Like, we so appreciate the passion and enthusiasm that you have for this project. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Stokes, there's another song that you're known for, and maybe one or two of our viewers have heard of this song. An obscure tune from a show called Ragtime. I think it's something like "Make Them Hear You" or something like that.
Yeah.
But the words are "Go out and tell your story, let it echo far and wide, make them hear you." As we were putting the show together this week, and we learned that you were going to be on, which we were all stoked about.
That's good. That's good.
Those lyrics kept resonating for us, especially as they relate to what we're doing. So I'm wondering if you can just speak a bit to the power of telling our story, the power of telling positive, real stories like Grace that represent all of America.
Yeah, I think there's nothing more important than telling your story. That it's so incredibly important. It's one of the things it's why the arts are so important, especially performing arts. And I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, so get me back if I go off too much. But what's amazing about sitting in a theater and watching a show like Grace, which I hope to do, and I would love to be in that first audience that you have and celebrate you on, because nobody is working right now in the arts. We're all really hurting. We're all having a hard time, and that's just not the performers that everybody sees. It's the composer, it's the lyricist, it's the all of the craftspeople in the background. I mean, everybody is out of work, so it's a terrible thing. But there's something very primal about a theatrical experience where we are, and this is why it's so hard, it's going to be difficult for us to come back, or slower, I think, than most people. Part of the joy of the experience is to sit next to other people and to experience that, what you're talking about, Carla, to get moved like that when you hear somebody sing or a piece of music. But the really powerful part of it is you feel this link because the person next to you, and the person next to you is feeling the same thing, and it all of a sudden starts connecting everybody and makes us feel a little bit more like, oh, I'm not alone in this world. And that's why, especially for African Americans, for people of color, to tell our stories, because they don't get out enough. They're getting out more these days. But that's why, especially, it's important to be able to sit in an audience and hear your story being told, and hear the rhythms of the language, and hear, it's like going to an August Wilson play. It's what's so filling. It's like a big meal. An August Wilson play is like a 20-course meal, and to hear the language, to hear the rhythm, to hear the experience that people are going through, and to know that you have been through that, your family has been through that, and that it's not something that is strange or otherworldly or exotic or foreign. It's something that just is. And there's great power in that, and seeing your family and your people and your songs and your rhythms and your food and all the references on a stage, in a book, in a movie theater, in a song. There's nothing like that. It's incredibly powerful. Storytelling is one of those things, it goes back to caveman days.
Yes.
Everybody's sitting on a log, probably eating some good food, a mammoth, bone, and hearing the story of the hunt. Ooh, what happened? What was next, Thag? And then I tripped on a rock. And everybody does that, and then my friend picked me up and my loincloth came off. Ha 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 ha. Everybody does. And there's this group thing that happens, where we're all connected, and now you're eating a mammoth steak because he came through it, and he got through it, and he got through all those trials and tribulations and all those problems, and here we are, and everybody then takes that with them when they go to bed, and they tell their kids, and becomes part of the lore. It's an amazing thing, storytelling.
It is, and Brian, when you connect it to our history and you tell a story that is real, the first musical I ever saw was Timbuktu. The next one, Once on This Island, Aida. But Grace is, it's telling not just an oral history. It's like we're so connected. We're like a stone's throw from that history. Yeah. And I hope a lot of people learn about the culinary expertise in our family, just in our family of African Americans in this nation. Jubilee is a finalist for the James Beard Award. And that book is 200 years of our expertise in cooking, written down recipes that date back to 1827. Toni Tipton Martin is one of those journalist historians. I mean, she would dig into Grace like you wouldn't believe, Nolan. Carla, I know you know well, but I cannot. This is like how whenever all the stars align, you have it all in Grace. Please hurry back, get us into the theaters when we're safe and sound. I cannot wait. I want to be in the front row right next to Brian and Carla.
Yeah, and Nolan, you know, and you're like, now it's been passed on to you. August Wilson is no longer with us, you know, so now you stand on his shoulders, and you get to teach other people, and you get to continue that story. That's what that song in Ragtime is about. Go out and tell your story. Let your story. Like, make them hear you. Make them hear you. That's what that is about, that storytelling. And whether you do it through music, through lyrics, through food, through journalism, we all have our own gifts that we bring to this planet and our own way of lighting everybody up and being a part of the solution. Right now, we got a big problem that's going on that we can all be a part of the solution of. Everybody has their own gifts and talents they bring. And that's what's so great about a story like Grace as well. You know, is you see that, and also you can relate to it, and you can feel it, and you can taste it.
Stokes, like, your words to me are so humbling. I want to share with you actually a story I've never had the opportunity to share with you. 22 years ago, and it was around this time of year, if I remember correctly, a younger, eager boy bought a solo train ticket from DC to New York and brought a 4th row seat to what was the newly opened Ford Center for the Performing Arts.
Oh man! Oh.
And this younger boy, 22 years ago, sat there in that theater alone, surrounded by audience members who did not look like him, audience members who were nowhere near his age, but he connected with you and with Audra McDonald. And with the brilliant music of Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens and the book by the late, great Terrence McNally in a way that would forever change his life.
Oh.
It set him on a path towards discovering his own gift for storytelling through music in a broader context beyond the church, which is all that he had really known. And it has led him by trial and by a whole lot of error to finding his voice in this amazing world that we call musical theater. So last year at the Kennedy Center, when I had the opportunity, when this young boy, 22 years older, had the opportunity to music direct Let Freedom Ring with you and Audra at the Kennedy Center in the concert hall, it was such a full circle moment.
Oh man.
Oh my God, what a beautiful story.
Thank you for that. And that makes me feel so happy and so full and so old. So I thank you for that.
Listen, we're all older.
Never.
Actually, one of the things is, now people are starting to say, oh, he's a legend. That means, okay, I'm old. But, one of the nice things about it is I'm hearing from lots of younger people how they were inspired by something that I did or something they saw me do on stage like that. And that's why they're doing it. And that's part of that, passing that story on. I stand on the shoulders of James Earl Jones and I'm trying to think, my list is very, very long of all the shoulders that I stand on, but that was my God. And I got to finally work with him and tell him, what he meant to me as well. So that's really, really important to be able to do that. And then to work with somebody like August Wilson, who I was like, August is like just an amazing, human being, and to be part of his storytelling as well. How lucky are we all to be, we're all part of a continuum. That's really what we are. We're not, it doesn't end with us. I think that's what happens a lot of times. I learned this when I had a kid, and a friend had told me this, and I thought, oh, that's so true. Before you have a kid, the feeling is, look at what the world has come to, and all of human being has come to this, me, this perfection, and then you have a kid, or even if it's not your own kid, you adopt a kid or you have somebody you raise, you realize, oh, it's not me. I'm just part of this continuum, and I pass this on, and I pass my story on to that person.
And I think food is the same way. Recipes are the same way. When people cook and you're passing down recipes. And so when we see these food stories being told and we look at cookbooks, we take that cookbook and we will put our spin on it, and things sort of go down, down the line. And to that point, I want to bring those of you who are watching online into this chat, because we have asked you all to share your food stories on Facebook and Instagram using the hashtag by Grace. And to date, we've featured stories from Denver, Colorado, St. Louis, Missouri, Philadelphia, PA, and today we are featuring a story from New York. But what makes this story so special is that it comes from one of our cast members of Grace, Lakrita.
So Lakrita plays the role of Haley, and let me tell you, she's fierce in that role. So shout out to Lakrita and all the cast members who I'm sure are watching, because I see some of them commenting on Instagram.
Well, Lakrita says, she wrote, when I was little, my mother and I would go out to Kansas to pick greens. She'd pay the farmer. He'd give us those bushel baskets, and we'd drive to the fields. We would pick mustard and turnip greens. She said, I never understood why mustard greens weren't yellow. I felt like the plants were as big as me, of course. I'd pull and pull on the turnip green and then go flying backwards when the earth finally let it loose. Then we'd make the drive back home with a trunk full of greens. My mom had one of those old galvanized steel washing machines that she would take the crank part off, and we'd dump all the greens in and wash them up. Oh my God, I have memories flooding back. Why did it seem to take days to cook them? And why did it seem that a full trunk of greens cooked down to one stock pot? It's been fun cooking fresh greens these days. The whole one pot meal is a dream, especially when it comes to doing the dishes. I got to remember to get more smoked sea salt. Hashtag by Grace.
That's amazing.
Oh, that brought me back. Oh, do I remember those? And the dirt at the bottom of the pot.
Right? But
I don't have that much dirt in the greens, right?
I know. My grandmother wanted me to pick greens, and I never wanted to do it. I just didn't want to do it. And so we were at the dinner table, and we were eating the greens, and I would say, you're probably eating weeds, because I couldn't tell the difference. Not even thinking that, of course, my grandmother could tell the difference. Like, why wouldn't she pick the weeds out of my greens that I had picked?
So folk are commenting online, and a lot of folk are asking, are we at least going to release an LP and that kind of thing? So listen, if you go to gracethemusical.com and sign up as a friend of Grace, you'll get access to some exclusive moments with the cast. We're going to do something later this month. You'll be invited to that. You'll have an opportunity to learn even more about the show. So we hope that you'll do that. Go to gracethemusical.com. And Lakrita, thank you so much for that incredible story. So food stories, who wants to go first?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have so many. I mean, wait. Coconut rice in Kenya, Kidogos, little bites in Zanzibar, then lasagna we made in college with quay and chip, like fresh homemade. But I already told you my favorite. It's like the goulash.
That's special.
And that sounds a lot like Brunswick stew, that goulash.
Yeah.
Which has barbecue sauce, corn. It has chicken. It has okra. It has tomatoes and all of these things, and it is delicious.
Where does that
and I would take white bread, and I would. It must have been, that old white bread that we used to all eat. It's the W.
Wonder bread.
And I would I would swirl it around the pot while it was still cooking, and just sop it up. It was just a soppy mess. Oh,
Wow.
And hot sauce. Lots.
Where does that come from, Carla? You were talking about, what is that, brew?
The Brunswick stew. My great aunt Lucille made it. She, like Philadelphia, New York, it was one of those stews that you throw together. And I was wondering why we didn't have it growing up. But my grandmother said that they had it all throughout the South. And it was just one of those things, like you would take everything that you had, like barbecue meat, chicken, and you would just throw it into a big pot, and they called it Brunswick stew. I have a recipe for it in Carla Hall Soul Food.
Okay.
I'll have to check that out.
All right, Stokes, your turn.
Wow, it's interesting, Michelle, because the things you talk about. I was actually raised overseas most of the time. My father worked for the Navy as a civilian, so I was raised in Guam in the Philippines, and I remember eating pancit and sticky rice with mango and lumpia and adobo and all of these, and then we had guava and papaya trees in the back.
Oh, mangoes.
All these fresh. Oh yeah, just amazing things. But it's funny because I've been thinking about that. What was and my first food memory was actually, and I must have been very young. I was maybe 3 years old, because this was before we moved overseas, or 4 years old. And I think one of the reasons it's so vivid to me is because it kind of hit all my senses. And it was like Saturdays and Sundays, our great grandmother lived with us. And she passed away when I was about 5 years old. But I remember she lived with us, and she would cook with my mom breakfast. And I remember, and I say it's multi-sensory because you can hear the sizzling of the bacon and the sausage on the grill. The taste of it is of course amazing, because what it's going to get, the anticipation of the taste, and then when you taste it, the smell of it, of course, it was just wafting through the house. And then the visual of it, of seeing both of these women cook. But the other visual that always sticks with me, it's one of my earliest memories, is I remember the sunbeams in the kitchen.
Yes.
And it
with the dust coming through.
Yes, and as I think about it, especially, that was something that I would probably only see really on the weekends, because otherwise we would have eggs or something like that. But then we have all of those things cooking. It's that smoke from everything that was also coming through, that I could smell and see, and I didn't even know what it was then. But I remember the sunbeams in the kitchen. That's a good name for a book too.
So
that's my great grandmother on the Margaret Hatcher on the left. My grandmother Lillian Hatcher. My mother there, Lillian Mitchell, and that's me on the right.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Listen, we have a couple of comments here. I want to Tall Girl says, I made it in college in a crock pot. So we all know about crock pot. Someone also said, I'm trying to find it, that her dad, I think it was Tall Girl, they also said her dad would make her wash the greens. And King Joseph 007 says, Chef Carla Hall, that stew sounds wonderful. I need to get your book So Good. So yeah, pick up all of Carla Hall's cookbooks, if you will. And Great Memories, that's from King Joseph also. And Virginia Woodruff, we know who that is. She's from our show too. She plays Miss Minnie in the show. How sweet is this picture? So thank you all for your comments. Stokes, thanks for sharing that family photo. That's pretty.
Oh yeah. That's
how
one of the.
Were you in that?
I was probably 3 in that photo. Probably that's around the time that I was, experiencing and first remembering all that cooking.
What's amazing, when I see pictures like that, it's like you go back and it's like, did anyone have any clue what this young man would grow up to be? Just a little kid chilling on the couch, but he's going to become like one of the greatest voices of all time. So.
Oh, well, that's very kind. I don't know that I would say I would be, as effusive as you are, but that's very kind that you're, is that wind still blowing where you are, Michelle? What's going on over there? What is going on?
It's live. It's live.
I tell you, there've been all sorts of mishaps this week. I'm telling you.
Now you got your arm on it. It must be a strong wind out there.
Yes, it is.
So Stokes, I just want to mention really quickly, you were talking about being in the Philippines, and there's a restaurant called The Jitney on 2nd Avenue. That's a Filipino restaurant, and they do Kamayan meals, I think like once or twice a week. So when things come back, and so all of those delicious food memories, they make those things. So imagine going for this Kamayan meal, which is where you eat with your hands and you just have a group of your friends. When we get back to that, that would be a really wonderful thing for you to do.
That'd be great. Yeah, you got to do it with me. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
yeah, all of y'all. You have to.
That partnership. They were on the dish, and in fact, they were delightful. But I have to say, Swahili cooking is like that too. And you sit down on a mat, and you pick things up with your fingers, and you taste the food. The food tastes different. Yeah. It's a completely different taste and texture. I don't know what it is about eating with your hands, but it's something that everyone should experience.
You're sitting around the campfire again. It's that primal. It's a very primal thing. That's how we first ate. It's part of that storytelling that food is also a part of. It's all of those things. It's multi-sensory. I think that's what the great thing is about food. And I'm talking with Carla here. She could talk about this. It rings around my head about this. But I think that's one of the things about it is so multi-sensory. It's something you taste, you feel, you hear, you see, you smell, and that's what makes it so special. And then what happens around the table? The conversations that happen and the family that happens, and that goes back to your show as well. Nolan, it's about what that all is about, and that whole experience.
Your family. Well, this has been amazing. This has been rich. We thank you all for coming on today. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Stokes.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. It's just so great being on with all of you, and
I know.
I look forward to doing this again and seeing all of you again as well.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, y'all. It's so great to see my classmate, my Howard University alma mater. How do I say that? She is an alum, Carla Howard.
One of your fellow alum.
My Louisiana brethren, Nolan, and I have to say, Brian, I am a huge fan. Like 98% of everything he said, I've been a fan of. Or I've been in the row or on the dial watching. So congratulations to all of your success, and I'm so proud of all of you.
And we're proud of you, Michelle. Keep representing.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep telling your stories, everybody. Keep telling your stories.
So we would be remiss to end today without recognizing that today is Giving Tuesday. It's also Cinco de Mayo, but it's Giving Tuesday. And I know that many of us have been impacted deeply by this pandemic with loss of revenue, but no matter our gains or our losses, all of us have something that we can give, something that we can share. If not money, I want to encourage everyone to find a way to give of your time or to share of your talent in a way that helps to lift someone else. And in fact, this week, Carla, I have a little surprise for you.
I love surprises.
I made a contribution in your honor to an organization that is near and dear to you. And I'm trying to see if I can show this. It's the Helen Keller International.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
All of the work, I got involved because all of the work that they do around the world in Africa and Asia and young kids and eyesight and just to help people with micronutrients and just healthy, not only eyes, but their bodies and things that they do for women. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to forward the email to you because when you make it in someone's honor, you can send them the note, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted to surprise you. So I'll send you the email and this nice little personal note, in terms of enjoying the journey with you and just really grateful to you. So
thank you. Yeah, this is a busy day. I mean, after this, I'm going to be doing an Amazon Live for another organization that I'm involved with, Gen Youth, and so that's going to be super fun. I'll be cooking taco meats and bringing some Southern to it. I'm going to be doing Johnny Cake tacos.
Wow. So we'll have
Johnny
to
K.
we'll have to follow you there. So here's what's going to happen. At the end of this broadcast, we're going to stream When Grammy Cooked for those who haven't seen it. If you're watching on Instagram, it will stream immediately. If you're watching on Facebook, the stream will start around 2:00. So in about 8 minutes. So it'll start as a fresh stream. So you'll be able to pick that up on Carla's page. Remember everyone to please visit gracethemusical.com to register, to be a friend of Grace, to receive updates on the show. And that with that registration, if you do that this week, we're going to send you an exclusive invite to our private live stream happy hour later this month, where you'll be able to meet the cast of Grace and to hear more about the musical. And Michelle and Stokes, if you want to join the happy hour, it's going to be a party. So, you know.
All right.
I'm registered.
Hang out. Carla, I know you're going to be there.
Oh, yeah, I'm registered. I'm going to be there front and center.
Excellent. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and finally, we're going to end our chat today with a special tribute to all of our moms and aunties, our sisters and Grammys.
In fact, I want to shout out my amazing mom, who's right back here, Gloria J. Williams. Love you, Mom.
We celebrate you as our maternal and spiritual nurturers. We're excited to feature the cast of Grace performing the final selection from the show When Grammy Cooked.
For those of you watching on Instagram, again, you just stay on and you'll be able to see it immediately after we finish here. And those on Facebook, just check back in about 7 minutes and we'll go live with it on Carla's page.
All right. Well, till next week, be safe and stay healthy and eat something really delicious.
Thank you all.
When Grammy cooked, she was free. The way she cooked, she could be an artist stroking paint, a settler blazing flames. She held the reins when she cooked.
When Grammy baked, she was free. The way she baked, she could be a duchess hosting guests, a temptress casting nets, only her best when she baked.
And oh, the many stories her food told with every plate. Stories hindered not by rank or place, but epic stories of adventures close but far away, so far away.
When Grammy called, she was free, and the way she baked, she could be a Merlin waving wand, a gesture rife with charm. Her coat of arms is what she cooked. Oh, just like Granny, we get to be free to cook and bake and live and give. And the love every time we use our recipes. Her spirit casts another
Victoria.